The South China Sea heats up. The U.S. Navy goes on high alert. China flexes its maritime muscle. Now the world watches as two superpowers square off in one of the globe's most critical waterways. Recent satellite imagery and intelligence reports indicate a spike in Chinese naval activity. Missile destroyers, Coast Guard vessels, and surveillance ships are massing in disputed areas. The U.S. Navy has responded by increasing patrols and going on heightened readiness. Pentagon sources confirm that multiple U.S. carrier strike groups and destroyers are now operating under enhanced threat protocols. The alert status allows for quicker reaction time, greater intelligence sharing, and rapid deployment if Chinese forces cross critical red lines. The South China Sea is not just a local dispute, it's a vital artery for global trade. Over $5 trillion worth of goods pass through these waters annually. Whoever controls these lanes controls a massive chunk of the world economy. China has transformed reefs into fortresses, deployed long-range anti-ship missiles, and expanded its blue water navy. The PLA Navy is no longer defensive. It's built to project power deep into the Indo-Pacific. To challenge China's sweeping maritime claims, the U.S. Navy routinely conducts freedom of navigation operations. These missions are legal under international law, but are routinely confronted by Chinese warships and aircraft. In recent weeks, U.S. and Chinese vessels have had dangerously close encounters. At times, ships passed within 100 meters of each other, raising the risk of miscalculation or even conflict. The U.S. isn't acting alone. NATO allies and Indo-Pacific partners have sent warships to join joint drills and patrols. Together, these forces are working to maintain open seas and counter Chinese aggression. The George Washington is one of the U.S. Navy vessels home-ported in Japan. The aircraft carrier, which is equipped with F-35C stealth fighter jets, returned to Yokosuka Naval Base near Tokyo in November 2024 after undergoing maintenance and upgrades in Virginia. The George Washington's first patrol since returning to Japan comes as two Chinese aircraft carriers were deployed simultaneously to the wider Western Pacific for the first time earlier in June, marking a major milestone in China's efforts to challenge U.S. naval dominance. Another U.S. aircraft carrier, USS Nimitz, has been redeployed to the Middle East from the Western Pacific amid the ongoing Iran-Israel conflict. This leaves the George Washington as the only U.S. aircraft carrier currently positioned to help keep China in check as of Monday. Japan, Taiwan, and the Philippines form the first island chain, an arc of allied territories aimed at limiting China's access to the broader Western Pacific under a U.S. containment strategy. The Chinese Navy is the world's largest by hull count, with more than 370 vessels. The Chinese military has frequently used waterways around Japan, including the Osumi Strait and the Miyako Strait, for naval deployments beyond the first island chain. Beijing claims that it is exercising its rights under an international maritime law treaty. Since mid-May, China has sent multiple warships to waters east of the first island chain, according to the Japanese Defense Ministry, including a naval task group led by the aircraft carrier CNS Liaoning and another centered around the amphibious assault ship CNS Anhui. The joint staff of the Japanese Defense Ministry reported that two Chinese naval vessels, the Type 055 destroyer CNS Lhasa and the Type 054A frigate CNS Weifang, transited the Osumi Strait, south of Japan's main island of Kyushu, between Wednesday and Thursday. Meanwhile, another pair of Chinese naval vessels, the Type 054A frigate, CNS Yantai, and the Type 903A replenishment ship, CNS Kekeksilihu, passed through the Miyako Strait, located between the southwestern Japanese islands of Miyako and Okinawa, on Thursday. A map provided by the Japan Joint Staff shows both Chinese naval groups sailing from the East China Sea toward the Philippine Sea. The Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force has sent ships and aircraft to track and monitor the Chinese vessels while gathering intelligence. The U.S. Navy said the aircraft carrier is currently on patrol in the 7th Fleet's operating area, which covers the Western Pacific and Indian Oceans. The Philippine Sea lies east of the first island chain, a defensive line formed by Japan, Taiwan, and the Philippines as part of a U.S. containment strategy aimed at restricting the Chinese Navy, the world's largest by hull count in the Western Pacific, in the event of war. In addition to the George Washington, which left its home port on June 10th, the carrier strike group includes 2 other warships, the cruiser USS Robert Smalls and the destroyer USS Shoup. It remains unclear whether the George Washington will also be sent to the Middle East should the situation there worsen. The Nimitz is expected to relieve its sister ship USS Carl Vinson in the region, allowing the latter to return home, U.S. Naval Institute News reported. The Chinese aircraft carriers CNS Liaoning and CNS Shandong remained underway in waters east of the Philippines as of Monday, each leading a naval task group and transiting westward according to a map provided by Japan's Defense Ministry. It's not just ships and submarines, cyber activity has also spiked. Both sides are deploying electronic warfare tactics, jamming systems, and intercepting communications to gain the upper hand. With both navies on high alert, the region stands at a crossroads. Will diplomacy diffuse tensions, or will one wrong move ignite a conflict that could draw in the world's great powers? The South China Sea has become a battleground of power, law, and resolve. The U.S. Navy stands ready. China watches and waits. Should the U.S. continue to confront China in the South China Sea? Will high alert lead to peace or push us closer to the brink? Share your thoughts in the comments, subscribe for frontline military updates, and don't forget to hit that notification bell.